Now, coming to you live from self-imposed exile in a sweaty little fart bunker somewhere in the southwest of the United States of America, it's the Mr. Ripper High Fantasy Tabletop Rigmarole Show, with your quarantined host with the most, Dave Makes Noises. Take it away, you sad, lonely little man.
Thanks, old-timey voice man. So, as the intro would have you believe, I am in self-imposed exile for the greater good of the realm. But not to fear, my sweet little darlings, because I've got everything I need to record these beautiful narrations for you from the comfort of my very own home. If this is the only part of the video that you watch because you're turned off by my shithouse intro, stay the fuck inside. Now then, on with the show. What is the best and worst house rule you have ever played with? Part 1. Best. Brutal critical. On crits, you do max damage plus your normal rolls. Worst. Inverted ranged combat. You have disadvantage on your first range in ranged weapons and regular rolls between your first and second. This stopped ranged combat in its tracks. Worst. If you take half your max hit points and damage in one turn, roll a con saving throw to not be knocked out. My druid spent most of combat unconscious in her wild shape. Also, we had to declare at initiative 20 if we planned on casting a spell on our turn. If you took damage, you had to roll a concentration check to not waste the spell slot and your turn. I think that DM hated casters? Best. Different game. Cleave rules. If you do more damage than needed to kill a mook/henchman monster, the damage can carry over to other nearby mooks. It really sped up combat and meant a critical hit on a low hit points monster wasn't wasted. Best house rule. Drinking a potion for yourself is a bonus action, while giving one to someone else still costs an action. Makes that 2d4 plus 2 feel like less of a waste when you're just going to be chunked down on your next turn. Worst house rule. The DM had us essentially swap attack and damage bonuses, so you almost never hit, but when you did, it was slightly harder. But she didn't change the stat blocks of the monsters, so if I hadn't just thrown fireballs at every fight, we wouldn't have made it through any fights without being overwhelmed. Best. DM will occasionally pass out 3 note cards to everyone. We each write down a treasure, item, or other as a reward, write down some sort of conflict, as specific or non-specific as we want, and a quick description of an NPC. It's led to some amazing encounters my DM has fleshed out on the spot. His favorite was Hiccup, the orc beast master, who taught us how to properly raise a baby dragon after we helped him rescue a mammoth tiger from poachers. Difficult quest because the mammoth tiger was not friendly. Haha. Worst. All magic requires concentration checks to cast. I get that magic casters are very powerful, and the DM wanted to make Marshall feel as good as magic casters, but at level 1 it just made magic feel useless since we couldn't overcome the concentration checks to cast, and just lost spell slots. Best is Triple Team. Adds a tactical positioning element like flanking without cheesing advantage, and creates a potential trade-off for swarming a foe. When a creature and 2 of its allies have an enemy within their reach, melee attack rolls against that enemy have advantage. Ranged attack rolls against that enemy are made with disadvantage. Worst was Story Initiative. Essentially, it was a meta initiative or initiative for the exploration turn. Whenever the DM would say, "What do you do?" to the party, the player whose turn it was in the story initiative got to take the lead and say what their character was doing first. While intended to make sure that every player got some spotlight time and everyone got the chance to influence the direction the story would head, it didn't really go smoothly. Sometimes the person whose turn it was wanted to see what someone else wanted to do first, or it thrust a normally more passive player into taking charge. Interesting idea, but didn't really work out. Edit. I think there is a misunderstanding by what I meant by story initiative. It wasn't taking turns out of combat, it was rotating who got to act first when a new scene started. Like, you see a dark hallway with a door at the end. What do you do? If a player had had story initiative, after that, player would say what their character does, roleplay continued as normal. Then, later on, the DM would set the next scene. You see a silver fountain in the center of the room, and hear a slight humming. What do you do? The next player in the story initiative order would get to be the first to say what their character does before the game continued as normal. Best rule is allowing most ability checks in combat to be done without taking an action. It encourages the players to do fun and interesting things, allows for different approaches without penalizing them, and is an easy way to break up the monotony of I hit it with a stick. Best. Bows become a finesse weapon. Use strength or dex for plus to hit or damage. From an immersion perspective, bows were intended for very strong users. Strong archers could draw quicker, more easily, and steady the bow better, and the more draw strength the bow had, the less good aim mattered, as the arrow would fly faster, be required to arc less, and penetrate armor better. It was healthy for the game too, since strength characters could have good ranged options. Worst. Anything revolving around critical fumbles where you can drop or even break weapons or hit allies on attack rolls of 1. As if marshals need more holding them back in a game where casters are already so dominant. Best is probably still the bonus action to drink a potion / action to give it to someone else. Worst is by far and large weapons or other important expensive equipment breaking on a nat 1 because LOL crit fail. I don't mind mishaps like accidentally hitting a friendly or your shot going way wide and alerting someone farther away or something, but I didn't sell my starting gear for a brand new crossbow just to lose it on my 3rd roll. Best. DM inspiration votes. At the end of each session, we vote for someone to receive DM Inspiration for the next session. DM Inspiration grants a one-time triple advantage rule, or will be converted to bonus experience at the end of the session if it's unused. We vote usually based on who did the coolest thing or had the best moment in the session, though sometimes pity votes happen too. I won it once for the time I said, I don't need to cast shield, and then literally died the next round. Worst. Different DM. A creature that sees an illusion immediately makes an intelligence save versus the caster's DC and sees through it on a success. This meant that my illusion wizard could not ever use illusions in front of a crowd of people because it was nearly statistically impossible for all of them to fail, and the ones who succeeded would call out that it's an illusion. I should note that this was less an established intentional house rule and more how my DM interpreted the rules for illusions, so he didn't have to remember to have NPCs use their action to investigate. Best. Glancing attacks. If the attack roll equals AC, the damage is halved. Applies to monsters and PCs. It's nice to have a bit of exact info even if you can't do much with it, and rules that you curse or give thanks for, dependent on which side of the hit you're on, are usually the balanced ones. Worst. Lifting the 1 spell plus cantrip restriction. It gave even greater power to casters, and while it did catch up with them on occasion when they'd burn through too many slots in one combat, the imbalance between them and the martial characters was too high. Plus it was too uncommon among monster stats to bite them back. If the dice is sort of half off the paper so it's not flat or it goes on the floor, you roll it again. All player dice are rolled in public so everyone can see them. Best house rules. Brutal criticals. Instead of rolling double dice plus stats, you roll regular damage and have the crit dice treated as maximized, so a Great Axe crit would be 1d12 plus 12 plus stat instead of 2d12 plus stat. This makes it so a crit will always do more damage than a regular attack and can really add some threat in combat. Paladins and Hexblades also tend to have fun with this one, as smites are scary. Max HP. Class HP is as much of a draw to a class as any other feature, and playing a barbarian with HP comparable to a wizard was not a fun experience. It's also made balancing encounters as a DM a bit easier. Pairs quite well with Brutal Critical to soften some of its bang. This applies to monsters and NPCs as well, and adds some nice staying power to some lesser critters. Bonus feat at first level. I found that allowing this really helps characters individualize themselves early on and offers a fun toy to play around with to boot. Variant humans can have a lot of fun with this too, and while the combo potential can be a tad strong, it's nothing unmanageable and really plays up the classic fantasy trope of humans through determination accomplish great things fast despite their short lifespan. Secret death saves. Death saves are rolled secretly between the player and DM, or whispered in Roll20. This really adds some extra threat to a player going down and concern without actually changing the rules or mechanics behind the death save system. Roll method 2d6 plus 6. While I greatly prefer point buy to rolling stats, this has been the best roll method I've come across. It offers the same standardized minimum as point buy, but some of the extra potential that people like rolling for. I allow my players to roll 2 arrays of stats with this method, and let them choose the preferred array. Tends to make stronger than normal characters, but nothing unmanageable. Worst house rules. Hidden roles. Roles that the DM rolls on behalf of the player. While technically not a house rule and allowed, I always find it frustrating when a role is taken out of my hands. It's illogical and strictly superstition, but I don't feel like I'm using my own luck when another person rolls for my character, and call me a control freak, but it irks me. Excessive fumble rules. I'm okay with 1s and 20s being respective auto-fails and hits, though tempered by degrees of success and failure. But when people are breaking weapons, losing limbs, and stabbing themselves, it's a bit extreme. I can tolerate risking a strike at an ally at disadvantage, but anything beyond that starts becoming less fun. Many homebrew race/class fixes. These aren't necessarily deal breakers, and I've played with some nice ones, but sometimes it can really be a downer when what you see in the book isn't what's being offered, or an ability you're excited to use has been changed due to a house rule you weren't aware of. Best. Anyone can use spell scrolls. This helps the more simple martial classes still have some stuff to do in social situations outside of existing and using their skills. Common complaint, though I usually don't particularly care personally. Worst. Crit fails. Automatically missing is already punishment enough. Hurting your allies or yourself by a significant amount is a huge punishment to add to that. Or subscribe for nat 20s. Just saying. Just saying. My new favorite house rule is Iron Man. Failed death saving throws carry over until you take a long rest. It's so much more rewarding to heal someone with this rule. Saving a death saving throw, even if you know they're going to go down again, is worth it. There's less, oh, this guy is almost dead, let's just kill him in the next round or two and it'll be fine. As for worst, I can remember some bad homebrew like unique magic systems that I've played with over the years, but everything that I've really disliked has been phased out within a few games. I can't remember the bad when it was more just to try out and never really made into a real rule. I both love and hate how we adjusted criticals. We have ruled you can crit and crit fail on saving throws and ability checks. I do like that it gives a chance for everyone to succeed or fail at something, but I hate having it a 1 in 20 chance for my Master of Stealth to fall on his face. A crit on a saving throw gives evasion for a damaging effect, an auto pass on the next instance, or saving someone else per DM fiat, while a crit fail, usually double damage, extending the effect, or an auto fail on the next save. We also have roll to troll on attack crit fails, where the DM rolls a d20 and determines how bad the effect is, from beneficial, like tripping but falling through your opponent with your sword, just missing, minor inconvenience, major inconvenience, or catastrophic. Hello, my nutritious little fig Newtons of infinite cosmic love. Thank you for attuning your physical vessels to this video, in this universe, in this galaxy, in this dimension. I know we're all scared shitless right now. I have a sore throat. I'm in lockdown. Even if you're not feeling any worse for the wear, if you're in an area where coronavirus is spreading, please take the safest action and stay in your home. Don't be a douche and buy up all the toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Other people need that shit too. Try and limit your news intake, and I know I'm struggling with this one, but I have faith that it will be good for my mental health in the coming weeks to be disciplined about how much media I choose to consume. At risk of sounding sappy, your comments are really helping carry me through this self-imposed exile thing, and for the greater good of the realm, we must all do our part. Be safe out there, seriously. And if you're already on lockdown, please take care of yourself. Stay hydrated, take vitamins, bolster your immune system, eat regularly, masturbate frequently, and most importantly, don't panic. We're all in this together, all 7 billion of us. Keep your head in the game. We're all depending on you. Please sub for nat 20s. I love you. See you next time.